today we have with us Mr. Abhishek Choudhary, who is the co-founder of Saajha. He's a major in literature from Hansraj College, has been awarded a postgraduate diploma in liberal arts from Young India Fellowship, recognized as Forbes 30 Under 30 Young Achiever and the Gandhi Fellow through the Kavyalaya Education Foundation. Abhishek has been associated with the domain of education for quite some time now and is on a mission to transform the public education system through parental and community partnership through Saajha, which builds leadership capacity of school management committee, a body consisting of parents and teachers to ensure accountability for children's learning in primary public schools of India. Thank you so much for joining us, Abhishek. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And jumping right ahead into the conversation. So Saajha believes in dignity and potential of parents and enables them to impact the lives of children. It builds a platform for parents to impact the lives of children. So can you elaborate on this concept of using parents to empower the children?
Yeah, Deepak. So two things are very important in the statement you said. One is the potential. The second is dignity. And these two words are primarily more a gratitude towards our own parents, like my co-founder Saransh and it's a gratitude towards our own parents, and it's an innate belief that parents have immense potential to impact life, and they're the biggest risk taker when it comes to children's life. Unfortunately, they don't get the dignity they deserve when they walk into a government school or any other similar public institution. And that's where what we believe that they have potential and they deserve dignity. And once we build platforms that's like enabling, that supports them, gives them the dignity they deserve, gives them the skill sets and the competencies they deserve, really help them to impact lives of children. And that's where the statement comes from. And we wanted to put it into our statement that belief is very crucial for us.
Wonderful. Now, building leadership within these local communities is something that is at the core of your work. So what is it that you do to create these leaders, and how do you create a sustainable model out of the same?
Interestingly, when we started our work, we thought that it's just about training and some tools. But as we started working, we realized the most important thing that a parent needs, which I earlier said, is dignity. When he or she walks into the school, there's no fear. There is no fear to be threatened or scolded or maybe anything else which takes away their dignity. And the second thing we realized was the importance of identity. A lot of our parent members come here, be part of the school management committee, because they get an identity as a parent, as a member of the institution, which connects them to the teachers, the political leaders, and also other dignitaries in the communities. The third thing we realized, so these two things were good enough to bring parents and build that kind of association and relationship with the school. But what is game changer over here is, can we create institutions and public system that listens to these parents? Because often, even if they walk in, their voices are not heard. So for us, the entire idea of building the leadership is to enable them to speak what they want and enable the institutions to listen to them.
Like you mentioned that this idea which started with like providing dignity, so you face a few problems around the same. So Sajha started as a college project in 2014 and is currently operational in 3 geographies, reaching up to 1,300 schools. So what were some of the other challenges that you faced during scaling this project to multiple locations and geographies, and how do you overcome those?
Great. So again, like when we started, the biggest challenge was that the system never believed in the potential of people. And it's just not the government system, even the philanthropic system or the academia. Like they said, what is in there for parents? Why should somebody miss their daily wage? Mm-hmm. And these were like very simple questions which we have to face in the initial 2 years. And the government was not ready to allow us a permission to enter the school and build a committee. It's exactly like I give you permission to make me accountable. Yes. And you really need a bureaucrat or a government body who's a big risk taker who believes in the community participation. So it took almost the first challenge was to enter a school with a legal official document. It took 8 months and for just to get a permission letter, quote unquote, that we want to train your SMC. We are not asking for money. We are not asking to do anything. It's just a mandate you have to do. We are here to support them and we'll provide them handholding. So this was the first barrier in the government system. And the second barrier was convincing people that parents can do it. Even if they're illiterate or maybe involved in daily wage activities, they might be able to take some time. And we have seen some bright spot while Saransh and I, we were Gandhi Fellows. We have seen those bright spots and that convinced us. So after a year, we showed like out of 12 members, the 12 parent members, on average 7 parents were available for any meeting. And it's just not the one-day SMC meeting which they used to attend a month. They used to volunteer for the task force or rallies to be organized or any problem-solving activities needed. So I think the system was also expecting very less from the parents. And that's where our job was to convince, no, they can do it.
So now we talk about the scaling of a project, like you mentioned. So the challenges is like for people to trust you. And these people could be the government or the institutions or the funders, donors, the CSR wings of corporates. But what is it that you see is different in their approaches to a project? And who would you say is more flexible or more approachable to put these sort of interventions out there?
Great. So I'll split your question in 2 parts. First, take up the scaling question, and the second, working with different stakeholders. So interestingly, right from the inception, we were lucky to have good mentors. And one of our mentors, Ashish Dhawan, he was also the advisory board. Then he consistently asked this question: how are you going to double the number of schools without doubling the number of people? And this was like statement question. And that trigger was that we need to scale. So we started experimenting with a lot of models. We did like some low-cost talent using technology, but the real insights for scale came from when we started working with the Delhi government. They were very committed and patient in experimenting with the scale. And as I said before, instead of scaling the practices or the operational model which we were doing in say 70 school, we identified what are the values that make those models real. Can we scale those values? So we realized that dignity is, for example, that value that makes parents come to school. Identity is the second value. Listening is the third value. So now after identifying those values, we build model around them. For example, so when the SMC elections, the parent body elections happened across Delhi, we just convinced the government to bring a simple circular that everyone would be awarded a certificate from the local MLA. Now, when we were doing the 70 schools, we used to give them a steel nameplate saying Srimati Radhika ji, SMC member, Yamuna Vihar School. And maybe like she's the only, it's the house belongs to her father-in-law, but her nameplate is shining on the door. So instead of that 600, 700 nameplate, we said just keep 2 rupees ka certificate. Can we scale the idea? And when these parents walked into the office of MLA, which they like were always awed by, oh my God, an MLA walking through it, that gave them sense of identity that I was invited by the MLA and in a ceremony I was awarded a certificate. So the identity bit scaled like this. Dignity was like when we drafted the, say, for example, mega PTM, parents teacher meeting circulars, we mentioned as simple lines like please offer water and make a welcome gate at the entrance. And the best schools will go and decorate their gates with balloons and flowers. And the not so good school will at least put a paper saying parents are welcome or Abhibhavak Abhinandan. So the idea of we picked up the values and then started building those values in the government system itself. So the system collaboration, technology, of course, it's going to help you track, disseminate knowledge at the faster pace. But these things are just tools. What is important is to, I always say, to scale, you have to go deep. So Sajha's model is, even if we are working with the state government, we will always work in small like school to go deep into the lives of parents, in the function of schools, to get insights that's going to scale. So I think many people choose either you go deep or either you go scale. So, but we say go deep to scale. So that's where the scale is, and working with the different agencies and different stakeholders. Interesting thing, Deepak, like when we realize that listening is a very key factor for our model, and listening of either the senior bureaucrat or the senior political leader of education is very crucial for our model, and that makes it precarious also, and we are aware of it. So we go to any government meeting and we listen to the government. Acha, aap ye kar dijiyega, ye hoga, wo hoga. We listen to everything. But our final statement is, or maybe ask is, we'll do everything, but are you ready to listen to parents? You ask me to increase the attendance, you ask me to increase the learning outcome, but are you ready to listen to them? If they raise a question, are you going to answer? That's the bare minimum expectation of ours. And a lot of deal breaks over there, and we are fine because our model depends on that value. When it came to like foundations working with like Poticus, Tata Trust, or MGIP, they are people who come with a lot of knowledge and hunger for knowledge, and that has added a lot of value to our organization. They push you to learn. Whereas the government bureaucracy, they push you to implement, does not think much, execute. And over here, they learn. What is the learning you're deriving for the nation? What is the learning you're deriving for the world? And that's where the push is. CSR works more on a project management kind of a model where you commit to certain deliverables and you deliver it. So I think, though I assume that corporates are more agile and more like, because all those tools are born in the corporate sector, but I find when progressive governments and bureaucrats more agile than corporates, and of course foundations, no one can beat their learning. So this has been my experience on that.
So moving on to the last bit of the conversation. So what are some of the future initiatives that you're looking at towards developing at Saajha?
So our goal is quite scary. We say that we want to build a network of 10 million parent partners, and it's scary. But we are as a team that we take up and then we build a plan. So one of my co-founder always says that the infrastructure to scale only exists when you scale, or else where you plan whatever, but it's very difficult to scale. So one of the most crucial driver for our scale is government partnership. Identifying critical government decision makers who are really invested in it. And fortunately, we are seeing many right now in this country. A lot of young generation IS officers coming in and believing in the potential of parents. A lot of like forward-looking politicians coming in and looking at education as a priority and parents as a stakeholder. So we are depending a lot on the government. The second bit, when we started Saajha, there were very few organizations, or maybe no one explicitly working on the idea of parental participation, just or parents or community. They would be working or engaging with the entire gamut of education, and parent would be one thing. But now, over the last 3 years, I have seen many organizations stepping in and they say they want to support parents. And Sajha is willing to work with a new organization coming in, the organization already in the sector. So we are working with Pratham in Delhi, developing parental partnership model with them. We are working in Jharkhand with Tata Trust Cine. We are very open to working with as many as NGOs possible. The second driver of our scale is going to be NGO collaboration, and we are actively looking at it. And third is, of course, technology. And not necessarily this mission or vision needs to be achieved by Sajha. It's the country's vision. We have set it for the vision for the country, and let's all achieve together. And we are happy to share our vision with everyone.
Perfect. And lastly, are there any closing remarks around your opinion on how the education space is moving and where it's probably heading? And what can some organizations who are already working in the space do to improve their interventions?
The most important ask or an offer for me for this fraternity is that it's the time for hyper collaboration. We need to come together, solve some of the knotty problems in that sense, and a lot of inter-sector collaboration is needed right now. And when we work with parents, we have seen like there issue. You can't just say कि हम आपके साथ education की बातें करेंगे, हम आपकी livelihood की बातें नहीं करेंगे, या आपके health के बारे में बातें नहीं करेंगे. So it's very important for us different domain people to come together and bridge the gap, any development gap faced by our communities and schools. So that would be my closing remark.
So that brings us to the close of the conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, Abhishek. It's been wonderful listening to your opinions about the space that you're working in and how you're making parents empower the students and vice versa. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.